What's going on, everybody? So now that the football season is here, I can officially say that we will now have Browns After Dark Sunday night, Monday night, and if that is not enough for you, we got another one on Thursday. So if you've ever said to yourself, hey, I wonder where I can meet with people and talk about the Browns, that is the place for you. Check us out at Browns After Dark on Twitter. The link will be in the description down below. Times will also be posted on that Twitter page, so be sure to give us a follow, turn on your notifications, and come let us know what you think. We want to know your thoughts, so I'm looking forward to seeing you there. All right, what's going on, everybody? So I'm going to try to keep this somewhat quick because this is going to be like my third time recording this because I just keep going on tangents, and I don't really want that because this is an immediate reaction to the NFL draft for the Cleveland Browns. This is not going to be a super in-depth reaction to each pick. I'm just going to give you kind of my general thoughts on the draft as a whole and talk about each of these guys for a little bit. So the draft as a whole for the Browns, very frustrating, very confusing, and for me personally, very annoying. I think a lot of this makes no sense at all. I think the Browns really passed up on some very good players that could contribute day one, and they punted on that to go with some project guys, some guys they reached on, and it's just frustrating to me. It's very frustrating. The Browns made every pick except the one in the 7th round, which they traded out of to get a 6th round pick next year, which is crazy because I thought for sure the Browns were going to definitely not be making as many picks as they did, but they did, for better, for worse. And we're going to talk about it. The Browns did not pick a linebacker or a safety, which makes no sense at all. There's just a lot to talk about with this draft. So I'm going to do my best to keep this short for each pick in this kind of reaction. And, I'm doing camera off, and this is going to be kind of old school because it's been a long couple days. It's been a ton of fun, but I'm exhausted. I'm tired. So I'm not setting everything up just to tear it down. So this is going to be quick. This is going to be an immediate reaction. Overall, I'm going to give the Browns draft a C. I think it's very middle of the pack. I think they missed out on a ton of opportunities. And again, just very frustrated, especially given the fact that the Baltimore Ravens had an outstanding draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers had an outstanding draft. The Cincinnati Bengals had a really good draft. And the Browns had a mediocre joke of a draft, in my opinion, for the most part. So let's dive into this because a lot of people are going to disagree with me, probably on a lot of things here, but it is what it is. Like I said, we'll dive into this more in depth at some point later on. But as far as immediate reaction here, the first pick for the Browns at pick 74, they took wide receiver Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee, 6'3", 213-pound receiver. He ran a 4.54 40 time. This is a fantastic pick. So the New York Giants jumped the Browns, traded up, took Jalen Hyatt. I think the Giants must have thought that Hyatt was going to Cleveland. The Browns took Cedric Tillman, which is probably the better overall receiver. Jalen Hyatt has a lot of development to do, where Cedric Tillman is already kind of not a finished product because obviously he can improve, but he's a more complete player. He's 6'3", like I said, 213 pounds. His NFL comparison is Michael Pittman Jr., which tells you all you need to know about the type of player you just got. And in a draft that was full of a lot of really good receivers, there was only a handful of the big X receivers that, because the NFL today, a lot of times, in the last few years, there have been a lot of really good receivers, but it's kind of been rare to find receivers like this. Like I said, your big X receivers. It was really Jonathan Mingo and Cedric Tillman, and Mingo went really early, and the Browns went with Tillman. Tillman is great. I love this pick a lot. It's my favorite pick because he's got a great catch radius. He's a very good possession receiver, jump ball guy, 50-50 guy. Very similar to DPJ in the sense that he's reliable. He catches everything. He comes down with the football. He's not just a one-trick pony. He can do a lot. This guy's going to be a weapon for you in the red zone. And not to dive into it too much because I want to keep these as quick as possible, this kind of reiterates everything I've been saying about wide receiver. Donovan Peoples-Jones is most likely not going to be a Cleveland Brown after next year. And it's not that I don't want him here because I love DPJ, but he's going to price himself out. The Browns cannot afford to pay Donovan Peoples-Jones what he's going to make after this season. He's going to be a free agent. And if you think I'm dumb for saying that, go look at the contracts that receivers are getting in free agency. Receivers who are a lot worse than DPJ. The Browns cannot afford to pay that. So it's not a matter of the Browns wanting to get rid of DPJ. It's just they probably won't be able to afford him, which sucks. It's unfortunate. But this pick tells you everything you need to know about that. They are preparing for the future. And I love this pick because, A, you now have a wide receiver who's really, really good, who is going to, fill those shoes of DPJ if he does leave, which I'm expecting him to leave. And you now pair a really good receiver with Deshaun Watson for the length of his contract on a rookie contract. The length of Deshaun Watson's contract, okay? With a receiver on a rookie contract. That's what I was trying to say there. And this is a great pick. He was better than Jalen Hyatt. And then he had a high ankle sprain, and Hyatt became Hyatt. So Cedric Tillman was the number one receiver. And I think people need to really turn on the tape. It shocks me that a lot of people don't like this pick because I think this is going to be an absolute steal. Again, it's rare in today's NFL and in the NFL draft to find bigger receivers with the skill set that Cedric Tillman has. And I think he's going to be a great fit. I think this is a fantastic pick. I love the comparison of Michael Pittman Jr. And, I think he's going to really surprise a lot of people. I think he's going to show how good he is. And when you look back at it, I think a lot of people are going to be surprised the Browns got him as late as they did. I'm giving this pick an A-. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how much playing time he gets this season. That's the only thing that kind of not concerns me, but it fascinates me. But we'll see. The Browns are going to find a way to use him. And with the next pick, this is the one that is kind of frustrating and has split a lot of people. At 98, the Browns took Siaki Ika, defensive tackle, 6'3", 335 pounds, out of Baylor. His NFL comparison is Danny Shelton. I think this is a horrible pick. I think the Browns reached on him. And if you want my genuine reaction, I think Andrew Berry really made a panic selection here. Defensive tackles were going off the board quick. And instead of growing a pair and trading up, Andrew Berry just sat there and took the one that he liked that fell to him. And the one that he liked, or maybe not even liked, but the one that fell to us that he selected is essentially going to be just a big guy to fill a gap. This is somebody who's going to be a two-down player. He's slow. He ran a 5.39 40, and he's got little to no pass rush. He's a really good run defender, but this is a horrible selection, in my opinion. Given the players that were on the board, you could have gotten much better talent, in my opinion, and I think he panicked. I think Andrew Berry panicked with this pick. Now, I will say this, the saving grace here is Jim Schwartz was elated when the Browns picked him. So my hope is that Jim Schwartz sees something in him that we do not, and that I don't, and he can turn him into a good player, because I don't see it. I see a guy who's just going to fill a gap and be a rotational defensive tackle when you could have grabbed really, really good safety, really, really good linebacker, somebody else to help you early on. So this is frustrating to me. I don't hate it. I'm not furious about it, but I'm not happy. I mean, it's frustrating and annoying given where you picked him, you reached, and again, I think it was a panic selection. And I don't think he offers that much. So it is what it is. He's unbelievably slow. And I just think it's a bad pick. I'm giving this pick a D- because I just don't see a ton with it. Hopefully Jim Schwartz can work a miracle. That's kind of the best case scenario. But it is what it is. A lot of people are going to be like, oh, I'm not going to complain because we got size. Well, size means nothing if you suck. Okay? I'm so sick of people talking about, oh, Andrew Berry got the size. What a great... Dude, you're allowed to criticize Andrew Berry. Okay? I'm tired of this narrative where just because AB has done some good things for the Browns means he's immune to criticism. It's unbelievable to me. But speaking of size, pick 111, DeJuan Jones from The Ohio State, right tackle, 6'8", 374 pounds, ran a 5.35 40-yard dash, which just to show you how slow Siaki Ika is, he ran a 5.39. DeJuan Jones ran a 5.35. And DeJuan Jones is 6'8", 374. Siaki Ika is 6'3", 335. So, let that sink in. It's kind of a crazy side by side. But nevertheless, this is the pick that a lot of people are going to hate me about because I'm an Ohio State fan. Always have been, always will be. Diehard Buckeye fan. I've watched every game DeJuan Jones has played at Ohio State. I don't like this pick at all. I'm not a fan of DeJuan Jones at all. I never really have been. I don't like him as a player. I have nothing against him, as a person. He seems like a great guy. But to me, DeJuan Jones is the prototypical giant offensive tackle that looks great on film and he looks great in shoulder pads, but he does not play great. And yes, I understand 0 sacks, and I understand all these stats that people are throwing out here, but here's the problem for me. Right? Everybody's talking about, oh my gosh, what a great value pick. He could have went in the first round. Why didn't he? Because if he's as good as everybody thinks he is, why wouldn't you take a 6'8 tackle, 374 in the first round? Not even in the first round, high in the first round. Because if he's as good as people are acting, I mean, why did he go as late as he did at 111? People want to talk about weight. Okay. Guess what? Mekhi Becton was a giant offensive tackle. Went a lot earlier. The reality is DeJuan Jones is not that great. Okay? I'll come out and say it. I don't care. Hate me all you want. I've seen every snap DeJuan Jones has played. I love him as a run blocker. Fantastic as a run blocker, just running and getting in front of people and knocking them over. Fantastic. Love it. Not good as a pass blocker. I don't care what the numbers say. I saw it on film. I saw it every game. So, you people on Twitter who think you know everything about everything, saying, oh my gosh, 0 sacks and look at all this. Well, I watched every game he played, and I constantly saw him getting beat. I constantly saw him getting outmatched. And, I will give DeJuan Jones this. And again, I don't hate DeJuan Jones. I just think he's fool's gold. And the Browns drafted a 2-year project with DeJuan Jones. That's what I see here. And it's frustrating to me because, again, similar to Siaki Ika, This was not a pick that you needed to make. You could have got an immediate impact at linebacker. You could have got an immediate impact at safety. Another defensive lineman, which the Browns did with the next pick, which I'm very happy about. But I feel like this is just, it's more of a head scratcher than anything, because it's like, why? Why? Oh, it's great value. Guess what? DeJuan Jones was overrated. Every GM in the NFL just told you that. He's overrated. Because he wouldn't go this late. I just don't get the fascination here. People are so obsessed with size and how people look, and they watch 1 to 2 highlights, and they act like that's how every snap is. I watched Boye Mafe absolutely bully and embarrass DeJuan Jones, who is a 3rd or 4th string defensive end on the Seattle Seahawks. I watched Aiden Hutchinson, who is obviously a stud, embarrass DeJuan Jones over and over and over again. So, he's a liability as a pass blocker. You can sit here and lie to yourself and say, oh, that guy he's a giant. He's going to be great. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's a very raw prospect who's going to take a lot of work. That's the reality. And again, I'm not saying you have to agree with me. You could think I'm totally wrong. But I'm just going to tell you, I've watched every snap, and that's what I see. If you see something different, so be it. That's fine. I think he's massively overrated. And I think he got picked about where he should have. He never should have been projected as high as he was because of the flaws that he has. And I don't think the Browns have time to focus on a project player like this. Now, Bill Callahan is the saving grace here because hopefully he can turn him into something and make him, decent as a pass blocker. And that would be great because if he can make him more, well-rounded and get the most out of him, then you have a really good potential pick here. I just don't see it happening, and I don't think the Browns have time to wait. And plus, you just signed Jack Conklin to a long-term deal, so are you going to spend the time trying to convince and transition DeJuan Jones into playing left tackle? I don't know. This is a head scratcher to me. I don't like this pick at all. And I know it's very controversial, and I'll get a ton of hate for saying everything I've said. It is what it is. I don't care. That's what I see. Not saying you got to agree with me. It is what it is. But I'm giving that pick a C- just because of the potential that he could have. But again, I think he's fool's gold. That's just me. Hope I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong. Do you know how I would love to be wrong? As great as that would be to have a 6'8", 370-something pound right tackle that just bullies people, that'd be great. But, I think it's a little bit of, like I said, fool's gold. Looks great, but once you dive into it, it's really not. So, with the next pick, the Browns took defensive end Isaiah McGuire out of Missouri. This is a great, great pick. You go from 2 terrible picks, in my opinion, or bad picks, a couple of them, with Siaki Ika and DeJuan Jones, and you start turning things around with Isaiah McGuire. Andrew Berry mentioned he wanted to add another defensive end. This is one for you. 6'4", 268 pounds. He ran a 4.7 640. He compares to Preston Smith as far as what the NFL.com said. Comparison for him. I think this is an absolutely great pick. Fantastic as a pass rusher. Needs some development. Doesn't have a great first step, but he's got the speed. He's got the athleticism. He's a nasty player. You turn on the tape. He's just wrecking games at times. And the Browns now have an interesting rotation opposite of Myles Garrett. And I think McGuire could develop into that opposite starter. So This is going to be really fun to watch McGuire, Wright, Thomas, those young guys competing for spots on this roster. I think they will all be on the roster, but as far as the playing time goes, it's going to be interesting how that all works out, because Obo Okoronkwo is going to be your pass rush speed guy as far as that side of things. And Isaiah McGuire is right behind him, in my opinion, because Alex Wright is more your run defender, and Isaiah Thomas is kind of third right now behind Obo and McGuire as far as the pass rusher. And I like Isaiah Thomas. So I love this pick. I'm grading this pick at a B+, because I think he could have gotten picked a lot sooner. I don't understand why he fell as far as he did, but I think this is a steal. I think this is a really, really good pick. So we'll talk about that more later. The next pick is very interesting. Browns take quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, quarterback out of UCLA, 6'2", 203 pounds, ran a 4.56 40-yard dash. This is a pick that I love, because in every mock draft that I did, I had the Browns picking DTR, because he is the perfect backup for this team. He fits everything the Browns want to do. He still has a lot of development that he needs to make, but as far as that guy number 2 to DeJuan, if DeJuan were to get hurt and you need him to step in, you now have an athletic quarterback who can make a lot of big throws. His decision-making needs to improve, but all it takes is just getting coached up. And I think sitting behind Deshaun Watson is the perfect type of quarterback for him to be behind. And no, Grant, he will not be starting. But if he needs to start at some point because of an injury or whatever, this is a great pick. Now, I think it's interesting the Browns took him as early as they did, but at the same time, there was starting to be a run on quarterbacks. Clearly, they had this guy circled. They've had him in multiple times. They've loved him, and I do too. I think it's a great pick. I'm giving it a B+, just because it is backup quarterback, but thank God, no more Kellen Mond. Goodbye. Josh Dobbs, I love Josh Dobbs. I think he's great, but there's extreme value in having a good backup quarterback cheap, and the Browns now can develop a backup quarterback who could be pretty special. He's got all the tools to be great. So who knows? We'll see. Obviously, he's not going to be starting, but again, I think he's the perfect backup. Moving on, Cameron Mitchell, cornerback out of Northwestern. This is another guy that I had circled, and I took him in a lot of mock drafts that I did. He's 5'11", 191 pounds. He ran a 4.47 40. This guy, he's kind of complicated because I love this pick. This is one of my favorite picks. He's great. He's physical. He's really good in coverage. He's going to be your slot corner. And I think it's a good pick. I love the cornerback room now. But he does have some concerns because of injuries and durability, which is kind of annoying because, the Browns corners have gone through a lot of injuries. And, Grady Williams is no longer on the Browns because of that reason. So, taking another corner, this is a kind of a high-risk, high-reward situation here because outside of the injuries, he has played well enough to be a second or third round pick. But there are those concerns, and that's why he's fallen as far as he did. But he's not the fastest guy. He's just a scrappy guy. And I think with the other corners that the Browns already have, Ford's going to be your starting nickel this year, whenever Newsome is not. So Ford's on a 1-year deal, I believe. And, this guy's going to replace him at some point. So he's been really good. He gave Ohio State a lot of problems when we played him. He played with Greg Newsome at Northwestern for a little bit. He's been a really good player, like I said, ton of potential. Overall, fantastic prospect, great fit for the Browns. The only concern is the injuries. So, given where the Browns got him, I'm giving this grade I'm going to give it an A-. I love this pick. I've always had my eye on this guy. And for the Browns to get him, I was very, very happy. So, hopefully he can stay healthy. If he does, it's going to be a really good pick. And in my opinion, a steal to get him this late. And you can never have too many corners. So, it is what it is. Moving on. The Buckeye pick that I do like, because, I had people saying, you hate every Buckeye. You say you're an Ohio State fan, but you're like a Michigan fan. No, like I said, 99% of Ohio State players I would love on the Browns, and this is one of them. The only problem with this is it just doesn't make sense to me. And that's Luke Whippler, center, Ohio State, 6'3", 303 pounds. He ran a 5.14 40-yard dash. He compares to Garrett Bradbury in the NFL. That's what they had his NFL comparison as. I love this pick. I think he should be the starter eventually. I think he's been really good, very consistent, and I don't understand necessarily why the Browns took him, because it's not really a position that we need. We just signed Ethan Posick. We have Nick Harris. We just drafted a center last year. Just doesn't make a ton of sense. But I like Luke Whippler better than Nick Harris. I like Luke Whippler better than the kid we took last year. So, from that standpoint, great. I see him being a future starter. But, okay. I mean, not a position of need. That's my biggest thing with this draft for the Browns. Let's just go down the list again. DeJuan Jones, DTR, Luke Whippler. I don't hate them, but it's like, did you need them? Did you need to take them there? Could you have taken better talent at a different position that could help you earlier? It just doesn't, just a lot of things does not make sense to me about this draft for the Browns. And yes, prepping for the future, but some of these picks are like really long in the future. Like DeJuan Jones, I don't see playing a pivotal role for the Browns for at least 2 full seasons. DTR is your backup quarterback, so I'm fine with that. Cam Mitchell, not going to have a ton of playing time, at least not probably this season, but probably within a year or two will be, more used. Whippler, who knows? I have no idea when he's going to have a role. It's just a lot of things that don't make sense. And it's frustrating because the Browns passed up on a lot of talent. And like I said earlier, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens had fantastic drafts. They got great picks, literally every single pick. And I don't know. It just, a lot of things don't make sense to me. So I am looking on my phone to see if the Browns signed anybody. I don't see anything at the moment. So, okay. We'll talk about this more later on. This is just my first reaction, again, I love Cedric Tillman. Love that pick. Love the McGuire pick. Really like the DTR pick. Really like Cam Mitchell. And the others, whatever. That's just how I feel. But I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate for this because, it's Brown's Twitter. So let me know your thoughts, though. So interesting to see the reaction on this one. But we'll have more on this later. But till then, we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.